subject. Mike Davis with the Article 3 Project. He also formerly worked in the United States Senate and was a law clerk for Justice Gorsuch. Hello, sir. Great to have you with us, Mike.
Thank you for having me, Vince.
This is a big day. Give us your assessment first and foremost of what the Supreme Court said today.
This is a monumental decision, and it's one of the most important decisions that the Supreme Court has ever made in its history, because it held that the President of the United States, any President of the United States, is immune from criminal prosecution for his official acts, not his personal misconduct, his official acts. And if the Supreme Court did not hold it the way it did this day, just imagine what would happen if the Trump 47 Justice Department prosecuted President Obama for capital murder for his extrajudicial drone strike on 2 American citizens, including a minor, or the Trump 47 Justice Department prosecuted President Biden for his illegal mass parole of 10 million plus illegal immigrants into our country, or the Trump 47 Justice Department prosecuted President George W. Bush, so we can be bipartisan, for his lying about weapons of mass destruction and the resulting hundreds of thousands of deaths in Iraq, right? The Supreme Court, in this 6-3 decision, drafted by the Chief Justice, John Roberts, not exactly a Trump fan, not exactly a MAGA supporter, correctly understood that if you did not rule the way that the Supreme Court ruled today, that you can destroy the presidency and therefore you would destroy our country.
So this decision today, if I understand you correctly, Mike Davis, actually prevents Joe Biden from being prosecuted by a Trump Justice Department so long as the matter at question is an official act by Joe Biden.
Correct. There are 3 categories that the Supreme Court recognized. There is core constitutional responsibilities, for example, whether to fire your acting attorney general, which is in Jack Smith's indictment for January 6th against Trump in D.C. That is absolutely immune. There is presumptive immunity for all other official acts, and that presumption could be rebutted by the prosecutor if the prosecutor can show that the prosecution would not damage the president's ability to function, to do his job as the president of the United States. And then the third category is personal misconduct that is not covered under any immunity. This is essentially taking a 40-year-old precedent, the Nixon case, where they had civil immunity, and extending it to criminal immunity, which makes sense. If you can't sue a president for his official acts, how the hell can you put him in prison?
And the concept behind that is that a president needs to be unencumbered by those considerations when executing his job on behalf of the American people.
That's correct. I mean, members of Congress have immunity from both civil and criminal prosecution for their official acts. So do federal judges. Why the hell would the president of the United States not? And the reason that they're just deciding criminal immunity now is because we've never had a former president ever charged in our nation's history until President Biden, Merrick Garland, Jack Smith, Fani Willis, Alvin Bragg, these Biden Democrats brought this unprecedented, bogus, Republic-ending lawfare and election interference against President Trump with these 4 unprecedented criminal indictments. So the reason the Supreme Court had to rule is because Biden pushed the Supreme Court to rule.
Okay, this is the key point. So the way the left is framing this today, and the way all of their media outlets, these little lickspittle media outlets who all serve them, are framing this today. They're framing it as, the Supreme Court is enabling presidential abuse of power. But in fact, it's the opposite, isn't it, Mike Davis? What this is a roundhouse kick to Joe Biden's current abuse of power. And additionally, it actually offers protections to him in the future for that very abuse of power.
This is where Joe Biden is so stupid. Does he not understand that, especially after that debate performance, he's done. He's going to get thrown out of office on November 5th, 2024. Trump's going to be in office on January 20th, 2025. President Trump's acting attorney general should dismiss all these charges against Trump, and he should open a criminal probe on these Biden Democrats, including Biden. So I think Biden should be very thankful that the Supreme Court held that a president of the United States could not prosecute, indict, and imprison his predecessor for his official acts, because otherwise Joe Biden's cooked come January 20th.
Yes, so this is a way to prevent that kind of dissent in our country, and so it's a good thing, and just really, I just think a really impactful decision. Now, additionally, one of the things that really stood out to me in reading today's decision was Justice Clarence Thomas's concurring opinion, Mike Davis, and I read through that, and boy, he really lays it out, and I think you've actually laid it out with me before in our conversations, that Jack Smith is unconstitutionally appointed to this role. So in addition to all of these other things that are leaving Jack Smith losing in court, here you have a sitting United States Supreme Court justice saying this guy shouldn't be able to prosecute anyone as a special counsel.
I imagine that President Trump's going to file a motion to dismiss on that very ground for these special. Look, these special counsels are not even a creature of statute. They are a creature of Department of Justice regulations. They're unconstitutional because these special counsels are not officers of the United States. They're not established by Congress. They're not appointed by the president. They're not nominated by the president, confirmed by the Senate, and then appointed to that office. They are just kind of employees that are just made up through regulation. And here's the biggest problem with the special counsel regulation. It does not give the attorney general day-to-day supervision. And if you don't have a Senate-confirmed officer with day-to-day supervision of the special counsel, like you have the U.S. attorneys, all the U.S. attorneys around the country are Senate-confirmed, and they supervise day-to-day the assistant U.S. attorneys across the country. If you don't have that day-to-day supervision, this whole scheme is unconstitutional. I think President Trump could very well win on that issue, and I think President Trump will file a motion to dismiss with Judge Cannon on that very issue. I think, with Judge Tutkin, they've already filed with Judge Cannon down in Florida, and I think that President Trump could prevail on that issue alone.
And it's a big deal when a Supreme Court justice writes a brief, essentially, that supports your position here. Okay, I will say, if I just expand the lens a little bit to all of the decisions from the United States Supreme Court in the last week, it seems like a lot of this is headed in the right direction. There was a case that involved the SEC, which was running the Securities and Exchange Commission, which has been running these kangaroo courts as they level punishments against people that they want to. The court ruled, actually, that has to have a real jury. Like, you've got to have a real jury proceeding. You have to have, these people are entitled to due process. You can't just have a star chamber. That's a big deal. You had the overturning of the Chevron doctrine, which basically agencies were out of control with their power, and the court this past week said, no, Congress gets to make the laws. The agencies can't just invent them. You had the Fisher case where you had the Justice Department abusing its power, going after people claiming that they had obstructed a congressional proceeding when that law was actually written to handle the destruction of evidence. Not people walking into the Capitol building. So therefore, those charges are being dropped. Or a lot of these guys are trying to get their charges dropped now. And then this decision today, which says that, yes, the president deserves some immunity so that the country can't be brought to tyranny by successive administrations. I'm looking at all of this, Mike Davis, and going, man, these are massive wins for the constitutional order. What do you think?
Yeah, elections have consequences. And just imagine what the results would be if President Trump did not appoint Justices Gorsuch, my former boss, Kavanaugh, and Barrett, and transform the left of center Supreme Court to a constitutionalist Supreme Court, the first constitutionalist Supreme Court in 90 years, going back to FDR, a court that understands that its job is to keep government in check, because if you don't keep government in check, you have tyranny. And the Biden Justice Department is Exhibit A when you have out-of-control prosecutors and government officials, and how that results in tyranny, like what they're doing to President Trump, like they're doing to his top aides like Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon, who are sitting in prison right now, like they're doing to his January 6th supporters, who they politically persecuted with this 18 U.S.C. 1512 charges, like they're doing to parents where they're sick in the FBI after parents outraged by gender chaos in schools and the resulting rapes in bathrooms, like they're doing to Christians praying at abortion clinics, including putting in prison 75-year-old Christians for praying in abortion clinics, while they give amnesty to Joe Biden and James Biden and Hunter Biden, every scumbag Biden that's taken more than $20 million from our worst enemies, BLM, Antifa, Hamas, abortion industry activists, trans terrorists. We have a politicized and weaponized justice system, and the Supreme Court fully recognizes it, including even the Chief Justice of the United States, John Roberts, who I've never seen wear a MAGA hat.
It is amazing. Now, the left is outraged, of course, by all of this, Mike Davis, and we're seeing some lunacy immediately. The Daily Caller report just out. The left-wing media and pundits are fantasizing about President Joe Biden assassinating former President Donald Trump and Supreme Court justices as an official act following the Supreme Court's presidential immunity decision today. Several pundits accusing the Supreme Court of being an ally to Trump, while others went as far as to suggest Biden should assassinate him. The Nation Justice correspondent Eli Mistel, he's the guy with the huge white afro you see on TV, claimed Biden was able to do the, quote, funniest thing ever, prompting social media users to accuse him of suggesting Biden should commit lethal harm to his political opponent. He argued that Republicans want the president to be, quote, above the law. This is Bradley Moss, a reporter, an attorney. He said the Supreme Court just gave Biden unequivocal immunity to order the military to take action against Trump today, right now. He also said that President Biden can have the military execute Steve Bannon in the prison showers tonight and be immune from prosecution. The list goes on and on here. What is this, Mike Davis? Why is the left fantasizing about assassinating Trump and the people around him?
Because they fear they can't beat Trump on November 5th. 2024, especially after that disastrous debate performance by Joe Biden, when the whole world finally woke up to the fact that Joe Biden is a demented president who's not up to the job, like Rob Hur said in the special counsel report that Merrick Garland's covering up, refuses to turn over the tapes. Look, these Democrats are panicking, and they are pretending like they are the defenders of democracy while they're trying to bankrupt, imprison for life, throw off the ballot, and now even fantasize about killing the leading presidential rival, right? This is insanity on their part. The American people are woke to this. The Supreme Court, again, is woke to this, including John Roberts. You know it's bad for the Democrats when John Roberts is in the majority and writing these very bold opinions. They've lost the plots on the Democrat side. They are going to lose the election, and they are going to face severe legal, financial, and political consequences after January 20th, 2025. To these Democrat politicians and prosecutors and judges and operatives, lawyer up, we're coming.
Yeah. By the way, Justice Roberts wrote in the majority that ridiculous scenario that Trump's going to start using SEAL Team 6 to execute his political opponents, that wouldn't be allowed. That wouldn't actually fall under his official acts. All right. Thank you. Mike Davis, great to talk to you. Article 3 Project, always good having you with me, sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Vince.
That's Mike Davis. I'm Vince Coglianese. In today for Dan, a lot more ahead.